Hey, so I have this form for asking questions. I just like get around to answering most of the questions eventually in many months. This is just how it works. So someone asked a while ago, um, what have been positive and negative learning environments in your life? And I thought this is a great question because it's not like obviously about game design, which is my specialty, but um, as game designers, we think a lot about education, about um, the process that someone goes through learning a game, and so we tend to have a lot in common with educators and things we learn from the education literature, and not always so much in the other direction, but maybe there could be more. So, well, learning environment's been good in my life. So the first learning environment is obviously the home. I would say it was pretty positive. My parents were like loving, supportive, just good parents, you know. And like that emotional security is kind of the basis for um, having the mental openness to explore and develop. And that's kind of interesting in contrast with games, because games are often to make them exciting adventures, like they're trying to get across a stressful impression of an environment, but if they're actually stressful, then people aren't learning. So yeah, even when you're trying to make a intense game, it's you think about like the emotional security of the player, like that they can have moments of safety in the game where they can integrate what they've learned. But like, I wanted to actually answer the question, not just like relate everything back to game design. But this is my game design talk, so whatever. Yeah, so my mum is a school teacher, early like 5, 6 year old children, and she's very good at it. So like one outcome of that is that I started reading quite early. She insists that she didn't teach me to read, but like I've seen how she doesn't teach my children to read, and like she's very good at it. Like she really has a good attitude of connecting with the child and looking at the book and just like enjoying the story and just like drawing attention to the letters and the words and counting objects and pictures and yeah, so like I was not taught to read, but just spontaneously somehow learnt to read. And yeah, that was good. No, honestly, I think the fact that she didn't think of herself as teaching me possibly made it better. Like, she was just doing what came naturally with all those skills she had, rather than being on as a teacher. And that, like, when you can be in that place where you have the skills, you have trained up the ability to do something, but you're not doing it, you're just letting it happen, then it can happen very smoothly. So yeah, I would say I had the benefit of a expert teacher who wasn't thinking of herself as teaching. Better. um, I had a lot of fairly unsupervised play. Like, one thing that I did a lot as a child was making. What are you doing, Michael? Making. It's involved a lot of sellotaping bits of paper and cardboard together to, yeah, I conceived of it as engineering, I think. Like, looking back, largely what I was making was probably kind of sculptures, but like I was thinking a lot about how the mechanics of it, how it would work as a machine, even if it like didn't actually have any machine parts to do that. I also had the libraries were very well stocked. Yeah, like having lived in the UK and Portugal, like the libraries in New Zealand were incredible, really. Like I just thought that was what a library was. It just huge walls of books on anything you can imagine. And yeah, no, like I had access to a lot of books. And again, fairly unsupervised. I would just walk myself to the library and take whatever books I was interested in and bring a big pile home and read them all and take them back and get some more. So and then we had at some point a computer, and again, I had fairly unsupervised access to it. I was just like exploring the computer, seeing what I could do. Like, you know, I say unsupervised, like my parents were around and they were supportive and attentive, like they were probably paying more attention than I thought, but like I had the sense that I was just exploring on my own. And obviously the computer was offline, like that wasn't so much a thing back then, and yeah, I'd be a lot more cautious about letting a child have unsupervised access to a online computer. But yeah, I just explored what I could find in there, and that included programming languages, and that away I went. And yeah, also a lot of fairly unsupervised outside time, because we lived next to a reserve that had trees I could climb and a stream, and I'd pile up rocks in the stream. So yeah, I'd say that this was like an awesome learning environment. Just like the ability to be a child, explore, follow one's own interests, and not be too closely directed. School, on the other hand, was not. So for one thing, I was learning a lot of these things like reading ahead of when school was trying to teach them, so that when we came to them in school, what they were teaching wasn't something I had to learn. And they put me up some amount to try and deal with that, but yeah, and in general, I did not get on with the way they tried to teach things. I learned lots of things myself, and so like I performed well in like the testing and stuff, and like I guess that was nice, but yeah, and then in the like physical education components, I did very poorly, and like looking back now, I can say, oh yeah, they put me up because I was advanced academically, and that meant I was smaller and weaker physically, and so I wasn't competitive with the other students. But like what I internalized then, which is nonsense, but what I got out of it was that I'm bad at sports and bad at physical activities, and that sucked. Um, so they try to make it so much of one size fits all thing. Like, you're in this year, that's your level, and like nobody fits in that. Like, some people fit more than others, but everyone is going to be ahead in some aspects and behind in others, and like, it doesn't. I feel like it was fairly unconstructive, and like I was doing self-directed learning, and like they obviously there's been educational research that self-directed learning and self-directed projects are good, and so they try and fake it. Like, they try and, like, here's a module where you're going to do your own project, but like, we tell you what it is, but like, you're supposed to direct yourself to do the thing that we're directing you to do, and it doesn't work. Like, if I tried just directing myself to do what I wanted to do, they would be angry because I hadn't done the thing that I was supposed to direct myself self-directedly to do, and otherwise I'd have to try and intuit what they wanted me to do, and so it's just being directed by them vaguely, without a lot of clarity. And but no, obviously, like, I had a lot of different teachers, and some of them were quite bad, but a lot of them, like, most of them are earnest, like, trying to do a good job, just with too many students, and it's an impossible job. And I have fond memories of various of them, and I'm sure in more ways than I can, like, analyse, a lot of them did impart things, but on the whole, I feel like my time could have been better spent with less of that. But one thing I remember from school is, so I've been working on a game at home, trying to make, like, basically, a scorched earth kind of thing, and I could not work out how to calculate the angles to get the right trajectories. Like, I did everything I could think of, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know the words to look up the answer. Libraries, I didn't know what subject that was. It was just like tanks shooting cannons. And one time in school we went to, they took some group of us that was like the more advanced ones to a special class of maths that was further ahead, and we did some trigonometry, and like straight away I was just like, this is it. Like, everyone else in the group was just like, why are you teaching us? This is boring. But I was like, because I had my own project going on, I could instantly see the point of it and have an application in something I was trying to do. I'm trying to think how can they, like, because now I have children myself, like, how can we do a better job of, because nobody was asking me about, like, what games are you programming at home that you have mathematical questions about, right? They didn't know that was a thing, because they didn't ask or listen or wonder. It was just a thing that I did. And so I think it's really important to be listening to what children are trying to do themselves, and see what knowledge you might have that can support them in doing that, and that will lead them to everything in the universe. So that's cool. After school I went to university. Like, I was getting high grades, and like, it seemed like the thing, and straight away it was awesome. Like, we basically got treated like adults. We could leave the premises between classes and go honestly, like, towards the end of school, when you're like 17, 18, and you're like in this prison, you're supposed to not walk out of the grounds at lunchtime because this feels ridiculous. And so university was basically okay. But the biggest thing I got going to university was that I met people who were smarter than me, like people who performed better academically than me. Because like for my whole life up to that point, I had just been the top in all the tests, and like, you know, like doing logical mental things, I outperformed everybody I knew. The teachers would try and teach us stuff, and I'd say, hey, there's a problem with what you're teaching because this doesn't make sense, because this is wrong, and they would argue with me, and then they would eventually figure out that I was right, because of course I was. And yeah, so just this sense of being smarter than the teachers who are supposed to be teaching me stuff, smarter than everyone around me, like it felt like a lot of pressure, you know? It's like, there's a lot to do in the world, and a lot of stuff that needs being good at those kinds of intelligence tasks. And it was quite a relief to find out that, yeah, there's actually just plenty of people around who do better than me at those, and I don't have to just try and take on all that burden myself. Like, it seems ridiculous, silly, but like, seriously. And like, I know looking back, like I lived in a fairly poor area where like a lot of those kids were like smart in terms of like their natural abilities. They had much more challenging family situations than me, and just things like that. Like it wasn't like I'm better than them or something. It's just that I would do better on all the tests, and that is treated as though it means something, which is like quite harmful, honestly. Yeah, so actually, like a lot of the time at university, still what we were learning was not that challenging. I was like, but next year we'll do topology, and then we'll finally get into the deep stuff. And I get to next year, and I'm like, okay, but this is kind of basic topology. I'm like, I want to get to the, yeah. It was a good time. Like, it was definitely a good time, but still, I feel the time spent learning could have been spent more effectively if, I guess again, if courses could be more individually tailored to the areas each person can go further in, and the areas each person is struggling in. Because of course there's stuff I struggled with and did need the time. It's just, yeah, so that's, So as an adult, I've taken classes as an adult in lots of different things, but the thing I've spent the most time learning as an adult is dance, which is something I never expected to get into. It was completely something my wife did, and she asked me to give it a try, and so I gave it a try, and more than a decade later I'm still giving it a try, so I guess, yeah. No, so it's been great for me. Learning environment. So like, I know a lot of people, a lot of adults, they want to learn to dance, learn to fight, like get into surf, like something like this, and they have this resistance because they're too old, like everyone around them will have been doing it for longer, and it's not like that at all. Like, mostly these things you go, like, everyone around you also started as an adult. That's why they're doing adult classes in it. Like, if they really got into it as a child, then they'd just be like, oh, or they'd be the ones teaching the classes or something. So yeah, everyone's an adult. Everyone gets treated as an adult. Because, one of the big problems with me with, like, school was that you're not treated as a fully independent... Yeah, the standard way to say is you're not treated as an adult. Like, you're not an adult, but, like, it's kind of not treating you as a person. Because, like, yes, you're not fully physically, emotionally mature. There are certain responsibilities you don't have, but a lot of the ways people treat children, in contrast to adults, are not because the children actually lack the will or the capacity for independence or the capacity for self-directness. It's just like they're not being properly respected. And yeah, so I say it's good because I get treated as an adult, but, like, it's good because I get respected as a conscious individual, which children are not, which is awful. And yeah, and I get to be really bad at it, and that's fine. There's a thing in physical education at school. Yes, I was bad at it, but that wasn't okay. Like, it wasn't, being bad at it was not an approved option. You were not able to fully participate if you're bad at it. And, like, it's nice. Like I'd only had the experience of, like, being top of the class all the time, or, like, not able to participate because I was so bad. And to be bad, to suck at something, and just be part of the group, and, like, yeah, there's a group, we have different levels of ability, and, like, I guess you're near the bottom, but nobody cares. That's so nice. Yeah, it's just so nice. Let people suck at things, and, like, that's just so nice. Like, you can try and fail, and you can keep trying and keep failing, and eventually you fail slightly less, and that's awesome. Yeah, there's and, like, in school, like, it's mandatory. Like, people are there because the police will attack their parents if they're not at school or something. Whereas, like, a class you go to as an adult, everyone is there because they want to be there, and the people teaching know that everyone wants to be there, and just, like, assume that you want to learn the thing that they're teaching. You don't have to do any tricks to coerce you into wanting to learn it because you're there to learn it. That can go two ways, because, like, there are other classes where people are concerned about retention, right? Like, these people are choosing to come to our class, and we want more people to choose to our class. We're teaching this as a business. We want to make money from it. We want to advertise it. We want people to, if people come to our class, we want them to like it. We want them to stay. And versus the people who, well, we have something good to offer. Not everyone is going to want what we have to offer, because there are a lot of things in the world, but we create a space for the people who want what we have to offer to come. And, like, I think if you know me at all, like, it's obvious which of those options I get on with better. Sometimes people are really making their classes worse because they're concerned about retention of people who, like, I don't even know why you necessarily want those people in your class. But the teachers who just take a line of, this is what I teach, and like take it or leave it. Obviously some people leave it, and some people get very upset that nobody minds if they leave it. Like they want, it's an issue some people have, but whatever. Yeah, so dancing, there's two main structures I've learned dancing with. There's recurring classes, sort of like every Tuesday night we do this, and that's nice. Having something that you just regularly do helps you So I started going to this kind of class, and it wasn't working for me. Like I was sucking a lot out of it, which was great. I wasn't getting it, which was not so great. Like, and I kept trying, but I wasn't getting it. And when it started, we started going to just parties, people having their houses where people were dancing, and it was a welcoming environment. There was like someone was making homemade ice cream. It was nice. It was just a nice social group to be in, whether you can do the activity that it's centered around or not. Like I was welcome there, even though I didn't get it. Like people knew me, and they're like, yeah, you've been trying, but you don't really get it. That's fine. You can still come to our house and just like have ice cream, and you can dance or not, depending on what you want to do. And just being in that social environment where people were doing it, and it was just like a normal activity, like that like I was saying with it's like the home, the supportive emotional environment, like that's when it suddenly clicked for me at some point. People do this. I identify with the people. I'm in the social group with these people. I feel part of the group. Suddenly I feel in my body how this makes sense, and that made it click in a way that doing classes never did. But then taking classes really helped regularly build on that. So yeah. But then once I was like getting really into that, I went to a retreat that was a week, organised by a teacher, Brenda Russell from the States, where she takes a week, and just like you train hard every day. You get up first thing in the morning, and she's leading a warm up, and there's a couple of other teachers. You just train all day for a week, and it's amazing. Just having this immersion of this is all you're doing every day for a week. It makes things click in a way that dipping into it every week over time doesn't. I think there's different aspects that the regular routine builds up kind of a foundation, and the immersion gives you an opportunity for transformation. So like I've really found it useful to have both. Learning kind of comes in these two forms. I mean, like transformation, like sometimes like quite magical, miraculous seeming. Like you'll be practicing a certain movement and not getting it, and not getting it, and not getting it, but keep trying and trying, and having all these other exercises that are synergistic with it that you're training around, and then suddenly, like some subsystem of your body that's not been correctly functioning in alignment for this movement to work, suddenly like the light bulb goes on, and it gets it, and it sort of takes over, and like spontaneously your body just reorganizes itself, and then suddenly you can do that thing and a dozen things you couldn't do before. Like this is, I mean, if you've experienced this, it's just like, yeah, that's a thing that happens. If you haven't, it's just like Michael's just talking about some weird woo stuff. It's not weird woo stuff. It's just like your posture, your habits restrict your movement and your capacities, and like really taking that focus of spending a week, even more would maybe be even better, but a week is enough. You can have it click in a way that, yeah, it's so nice. Yeah, and in Portugal there's, you know, I haven't been to one of Brenda's retreats for a while, like money reasons, and also just had all children. But there's a teacher, Pedro Paz, here in Portugal, who organises quite similar retreats. I went to one recently. It was nice. Yeah, again, he's a professional dancer for many years, and he brings in some other teachers, and you just like spend a week like getting up in the morning, doing some yoga or something, training all day, and after a week you can do something surprising that you couldn't do before. It's super cool. Yeah, so, and yeah, so like I can relate it back to games. Like I'm thinking about the emotional support kind of aspect. Also, like this contrast between the routine and the immersion. Like there's threads there, but this has been plenty. Like, thanks for listening. Later.